Well, good morning, guys. So we're back again, making some lovely food and giving you some really good recipes, I hope. Today we're going to be making a lasagna soup and pillowy soft garlic cheddar rolls. So let's begin. And I'm filming by myself, by the way. All right, so you can see here, I've already, sorry about that. I've already baked my 9 by 13 pan, so I'm going to put that aside. And last night I raised sourdough bread. Um, so I'm going to show you what I'm going to do now, but then I'm going to show you how I put the bread together to raise it. Because it's very simple and no starter is required. So let's begin. So I'm going to grab some parchment paper here. And I'm just going to lay it out on the countertop. This is the end of the roll, so you can see it's struggling. And one way to solve this issue is just wet your hand a little bit and wipe it on the countertop. And it's almost like glue. So it's sticking. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to actually put our sourdough bread out here because we want to stretch it enough to fit it into the pan. So this you can see is pretty stretchy. See that? And I put this together probably, I don't know, 10:30 last night. And now here in New York State, it's 10 o'clock. So it's had a lot of time to raise. So I've just got some plain all-purpose flour here. They wouldn't fit in the container. So I'm just gonna, put some on the parchment paper. And I'm going to hold my bowl as such. Kind of spread it out a little bit, not too crazy here. And I'm going to scrape it out onto the parchment paper. So this recipe is a no need, but because we're putting inclusions in it, there's going to be a little bit of a need. And that's just something that you need to remember. So we got it on the parchment paper, and you see it's very sticky, which is great. That means you've got an active dough going on here. So put this like that. And just kind of get it all together. Make sure you got your flour wherever you can get it on. So got some cheese here. This is just cheddar cheese. The garlic and parsley is already in the dough. So we're just adding some cheese to it. And what we're going to do is fold it over like that. Try to keep it on your parchment paper. It just keeps your work surface clean. You could do it without. That's your call. So what are we trying to do here? We're basically adding the cheese to the dough. I've got a scraper here, so I can kind of, scrape it around and stuff like that. But we don't want to go too crazy with handling this dough too much. It actually takes away from the rising overnight and whatnot. But after we get this going, I'm going to show you how I put it together. I'm going to add a little bit more cheese. Like I said, we're just folding it. But one thing different that we're going to do than what we do with, our regular sourdough is we're going to let it raise again in that 9 by 13 pan. So you can see I'm really not needing this. And yes, it looks like I'm struggling with the parchment paper, and I am a little bit. So it's like, it's your choice if you want to, you know, not use parchment paper. All right. Dough still feels soft and fluffy and everything, so that's great. Okay, so like I said, I've already greased up our 9x13 pan, so I'm going to bring that back over here. And I'll just take this way. So here's our pan, and here's our lovely dough. Look at that. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to leave it. Do nothing else. I have started my oven up to 450. Let me clean up my hands a little bit, and then we're going to wrap it. See, to grab some food service wrap here, and we're going to wrap it pretty tightly, you know, because we want to get it as hot as possible. And we'll set it off to the side. Give it about an hour and maybe 30 minutes. Depends on how fast it'll raise. You know, make sure your house is hot enough, and we're just going to let it do its thing. So because this is like a sourdough inclusion, these rolls are actually going to taste like a focaccia bread. So put this off to the side. I think we can put it right over here. Okay. So now I'm going to show you how I made that lovely bread. We're going to, you know, raise it in a non-reactive bowl, and I'll show you how I put it together. And it's very simple. So let's get started. All right, so first you want to start with a non-reactive bowl. So when I say non-reactive, I'm saying not metal. So you want something, you know, like a Tupperware or ceramic, glass bowl, something like that. Doesn't need to be greased or anything. So we've got our bread flour here, and I usually keep my bread flour in like these awesome Utz pretzel containers, but that's just me. So you're gonna put your 3 cups right in. I use kosher salt. You can use Mediterranean salt. So I had a couple of questions come in regards to the salt. There's 2 tablespoons of salt. I mean 2 teaspoons, I'm sorry, of salt right in here. And active dry yeast. This is just the Aldi's brand. And then, being I'm right next to the sink, I'm going to turn my water on hot, get it warmed up here. Put your whole packet of yeast in. We did inclusions this time, so we got some parsley here. This is just the Walmart brand. Throw some parsley in. I'm not measuring, I just want you to know. And we got some garlic powder here. This is just the, I think that came from the 125 store. Put these out of the way. You can hear my hot water's been going, and that'll be 1.5 cups of hot water. Make sure it's hot. Yeah, well, it could be a little bit hotter, so I'm going to give it a minute. Much better. All right, 1.5 cups of hot water. There's 1. There's 2. So I've got my scraper here. Well, hard spatula. And as you can see, all I'm doing, turn the water off. All I'm doing is folding it in, creating a scrappy dough, and that's about it. There's really nothing to it. Um, goal here is to just include, you know, get it mixed, make sure that the wet is mixed into the dry, and that's it. I didn't grease my bowl. I didn't do anything, really. And you could say, when I say a scrappy dough, I mean that. You can see this is scraps. So that's the goal here. You're just getting the wet mixed into the dry. And it already smells lovely. You can smell the yeast. You can smell the salt. But see, it didn't take much. I'm not kneading it. I'm just mixing it together. That's it. All right, we're done. So now is when you take your food service film or plastic wrap or something and you tightly wrap it. I swear there was one point in my life I was like, I will never use plastic wrap. But I guess we all go through that. Oh, here's some on the counter you can add right to it. So there we go. That's it. It's got a nice seal on it like that, and just set it off to the side. Let it raise. Let's put it over here with the other, and that's it. Get this film service. Get back on face cam. So that was pretty simple, right? You're basically just letting the dough's doing all the work. I mean, so I put that big bowl together last night. I want to say 10:30, something like that. Maybe it was a little bit earlier. But it did its own thing overnight, and it looked like that very stretchy, sinewy like dough. So that's gonna sit on the countertop for, like I said, like about an hour, and yeah, I'm gonna turn the heat on in the house, so I'm gonna be sweating. And we'll have some. I'll show you the next step, which is pretty easy. We'll go from there. So let's get cooking this morning. Alright guys, so we're back. Um, so we've been continuing this series on how can you make some really good dinners with what you've been given from the food pantry. A lot of us are using it, and sometimes we get items that we're not so sure what to do with, but we don't necessarily pass up. So that's kind of like, that's where we've been going. So I'm going to change the... So here I've got a huge pack of bratwurst, need to be cooked. And this is, you can buy this at Walmart. It's JR's ground beef. So this recipe is calling for half a pound of ground sausage, ground Italian sausage, and half a pound of lean ground meat. This is a 80-20, so it's not bad as far as the lean. And these are original bratwurst. This is a 12-pack. We're not going to use it all, but I'm going to show you what we're going to do with it. And as far as like the seasonings go, you can add two to make it taste this way. But the way bratwurst is seasoned, it's pretty close to Italian sausage. So we're going to start with showing you how we're going to cut the meat up. So I know this is 1 pound. So easiest way is judge and cut down the middle. There we go. The rest of it I'm just going to stick right into the fridge because I plan on using it tomorrow. So I'm just going to wrap it up real quick. Grab some plastic wrap here. And we'll go with that. Put it right back on the plate. It's going to go back in the fridge. Alright, so these here, we're actually going to take, I'm going to grab a bowl. So, kind of things contained. Grab my kitchen shears here. Open it up. And I know I want a half pound, but this is a really great idea. Each of these need to be cooked anyway, so why not cut them down and you'll have almost like sausage meatballs in your lasagna soup. I mean, the recipe says you want to take the hamburger and the ground hamburger and the ground sausage and brown it together, which we can do with both of these. But this is just a little cool idea that, to give your soup a little oomph. And in the process of cooking it, these will actually shrink a bit. So just cut off a little bit more. And that's it. And then I'm going to take this, wrap it up, and stick it back in the fridge. Because I'm either going to take each of these lengths, cut them up like this, and cook them up anyways and freeze them, or I'm going to use it in a recipe tomorrow. I've got a beautiful, change this face cam. I got a beautiful head of cabbage, and there's some really great things you can do with sausage and cabbage. So, be back in a minute. All right. So I've got my countertop stove up, and we're gonna start this. It's very simple. From start to finish, it only takes 40-45 minutes. And I mean, the ingredients needed is something that really all of you guys should have on hand. I mean, sometimes you have like a half-open box of lasagna noodles, or a half-open box of oven-ready lasagna noodles. This recipe is perfect for that. Um, there's you can use vegetable or chicken stock, which I'm going to show you because a lot of these items we got from the food pantry. If people are like, "What? I don't want to take this home because I can't use it." Well, that's not necessarily true. And a lot of recipes that I cook, I actually find ways of substituting items I have on hand. Um, I guess it's something the Lord really teaches us is to use what we have, and not to live beyond our means, and always be charitable. A lot of these the meals that I make from cooking shows go right to, my friends or people in the community that need something, because we can't eat all this food, especially all the bread. Um, in the past couple of weeks, we've been doing a lot of cooking shows with beans and lentils and split peas, and those were all items that came from the food pantry. And I'll tell you, the carbohydrates in them can create a lot of gas in your body. And I already have issues with digestion, so I've just been in pain anyways. And yeah, I didn't have my medication for a week. So I wouldn't suggest eating beans and lentils every day. But really, these shows are just to show you what you can do with what you have. And 40-45 minute meals, it's pretty cool. A lot of these are, you can walk away from it and come back, chat with your littles, and stuff like that. I mean, you'll see on camera, Prissy will come in and out and stuff like that. But let's get started. And you know what? Before we get started, I want to stop and pray with you guys. Good morning, Lord. My Father, my Creator, I just want to come before you this morning and thank you for the time that you've given me. Thank you for the skills that you've given me. Thank you for filling my life with a joy to be in the kitchen and showing others, things that we can do that are pretty easy. And not be scared. It seems there's the lost art of being in your kitchen, especially with your little ones or your husband, and making some really great food for people. But there's also a lost art in fellowship too, Lord. And I know the enemy attacks me a lot when it comes to community and not visiting people or being a part of something. But Lord, you constantly reminding me that you are my portion, you are my best friend, you are my husband, you are my creator, you are my father. I'm your daughter. I'm the daughter of a king. I'm a princess. And Lord, I'm never alone. Your presence is here. You are near. You are dear to my heart. And Father, if there's anything I can do today, help me glorify your name with my lips. Help me glorify your name with my actions. Help me glorify your name with my attitude. And in the struggles that I have in my life, with my marriage, or when I speak to my husband, or how short-tempered I can get, Lord, please don't let me stumble on others' walk. And continue to reveal to me the things that grieve you. And just, Lord, keep chastening me, teaching me, bringing me closer to you daily. Help me find ways to sit down with you and read your word so that I know more about your character and how much you love us. And Father, if there's anybody watching today that doesn't know you, or is struggling, or just needs to feel your presence, Lord, I ask you today to reveal yourself to them in such a deep way. And Father, thank you for the emotions that you give us. You didn't create them to hurt us. You created them so that we have a tender spirit that can listen to you. And Father, we want to remain malleable. We want to be your clay. We want to be teachable. So I just lift this time up to you. Between cooking with you, talking about you, and teaching others, Lord, just get in between me and the camera and just be here, cooking in the kitchen with me. In Jesus' name, amen. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, and we're back. So we're gonna start our meat, get everything rolling, and we're off. All right, so you can see I've got my my countertop cooktop going here, and I'm gonna turn it up to about medium. Throw in some olive oil there. Let it heat up. And we're back. Okay. So you guys can see I put some oil in here. Just about a tablespoon and a half. So I'm just going to add the ground beef. A little bit difficult to come out, but here we go. Make sure that's up. You always gotta kind of like watch your cooktops. Just make sure your heat's right where it needs to be at. So just break this up a little bit here and there. Add all the sausage. We're just going to start cooking that up. And as we go along, as the hamburger starts to brown, we're going to, break it up. We don't really want to break up the sausage, so just keep that in mind. You can if you want to, though. It's your choice. They're starting to sizzle. Alright, so now we're going to add a little bit of salt. And some pepper. Because I want this to taste a lot like Italian sausage, I'm actually going to add some poultry seasoning to it. So let's say you didn't have poultry seasoning. Alright, so let's say you didn't have some poultry seasoning, which I couldn't find mine. You could go some ground sage here, some cumin. Some of you guys might have this, Old Bay. And there you go. And like I said, we're just going to stir it around. Get everything nice and browned up. And you can see, you can tell the difference between the burger and the sausage. You're just going to kind of break it up as you go here. You just want everything nice and brown, and then we're going to remove it from the pan. And it already smells incredible. Move this forward a little bit. Turn that up. So you see this is browning up nicely. You got your, you know, larger chunks of bratwurst here. We're just going to call that sausage today. And your smaller chunks of ground beef here. When it's all browned out, that's when it's all browned up and everything, we're actually going to take it out. Filming by myself is not always so easy. I already screwed it up once today, so I'll be praying my husband has a pretty easy job editing all of this. And I'm very, very grateful for him. I know a lot of us women have a hard time, you know, relenting and surrendering things, especially when it comes to what the Lord's doing in our lives. And that's something that the Lord's been showing me is surrender. It's giving my time, my life, my purpose to Him completely and totally. And I think that's rough for all of us women. You know, and I'm not sure how many of you watching, you know, really know the Lord, love the Lord, have Him in your life, but for me, you know, I can give you a little bit of a testimony here, is that I was an addict for many years of my life. Alcohol and alcohol was my biggest demon. But, you know, my ex-husband, my second husband's pain pills, you know, I lost a child. The Lord delivered me from mental illness, and He's done so much for me. I can't thank Him enough. And there's really not much I can do to get back to Him other than obey and surrender and let Him continue to work on me every single day. And that's hard. You know, God gave us women a lot of skills when it comes to like multitasking, you know, being caregivers, kind of like we're like teachers in the home and things like that. And you know, and even the time where I was like running my business full time, a good measure, and you know, just daily cooking and whatnot, baking, cooking, and you know, it was a struggle in my life, and it was not something the Lord wanted me to do full time. And it was hard for me to give that up because I had so much, I guess you would call it praise of the mouth. And rather than the Lord being my portion and my daily food, I'm going to switch the camera. You can see that I'm actually The ground beef is done, so I'm taking it out, but the bratwurst is not yet. But I'm spooning it out because I'm not trying to take the oil with it. But back to what I was saying. So, worldly praises became more of a food to me than what the Lord was trying to do in my life, and it wasn't worth it. And He led me away from it, and it was hard for me to let it go. And God doesn't want us to depend on man, the people in our lives, to tell us who we are and be our identity. The Lord wants our identity in Him because He created us. And He doesn't need anything from me. There's nothing I can give back to Him that would, really bless Him. I mean, He created the mountains, He created the trees, He created all of us. And the only thing we can give back to Him is surrender, letting Him work in our lives so that it glorifies Him. And, coming from, having a business that, was doing well to being downsized, it was hard for me. Change the camera view. It was hard for me to find my identity in Him again. So, even stay-at-home moms, if you guys are watching this and you're just like, my day is filled with cleaning, folding, making dinner. There's so many ways for you to see who you are in the Lord. And the only way to do that is by opening His Word, opening His book, which is a living gospel. The Bible means good news. And that's the best way to find out who God is, why He does what He does, and what He wants especially just for us daughters of the King. He loves us so much. And He is long-suffering, forgiving. And it seems like, I'm sure your husbands have told you, you're never going to let me forget this. That's because we don't forget. But the Lord does. He blots out our sin. As far as the east is from the west, He removes our transgressions from us. And the east never meets the west. So that's pretty far. So you can see it got everything browned up. So now I'm just removing it. I'm going to turn my heat down so it doesn't pop oil back at me. Because the next thing we're going to do is drain out some of this oil and put our garlic and our onions in. But, so I got the meat off to the side here. I gotta fix my cooktop. There's some problem with these. These are very they don't stay still on you. But we got some nice browned bits in the bottom here. I love that. That is such good smoky flavoring for for your recipes and stuff and what you're doing. So I'm going to remove some of this oil and just kind of, I'll set it off to the side till it cools long enough and I can get rid of it. But we don't need all of this oil to brown up, to tenderize the onions and the garlic and stuff. But I love these smoky bits in the bottom here. Let's put this off to the side. Wipe off my countertop here. Reposition my cooktop. So the meat is done. I'm just going to set it off to the side here. And we're going to throw in, it's about 1 1/4 of an onion chopped. And Turn this back up to medium. And start browning this up. And you can see all these lovely brown bits, brown smoky bits, are going to go right into your recipe. Oh gosh, that's lovely. And I'm sure you guys are looking at my fugly pan here. And I know all of you have one too. There's nothing to be scared about with that. I already kind of chunked up my garlic, and I'm actually going to use my garlic press here and press it right into the pan. So, you know, I put a couple pieces in, position the press it down, and then, you know, I just kind of take a paring knife and then like swoosh it in there. The recipe called for, I believe it was 3 1/4, 3 1/2 cloves of garlic. And sometimes your press will get stopped up with stuff. That's okay. That's why I keep the paring knife close by. Oh. Let's see, just cleaning out. All that really is like, you know, the other part of the skin. Sometimes you got just hard pieces. Not a big deal. There we go. Just kind of give it a good stir here. And as it's beginning to get aromatic, that's when you're going to start adding all your liquids. So, like I said, we're using stuff that I picked up from the food pantry or stuff that people picked up from the food pantry and dropped off. So, this recipe, you're obviously going to have liquid in it because you're putting noodles in it. So, you can use vegetable or chicken stock. This is like just some vegetable stock from the food pantry, Wegmans organic brand or culinary stock. So, and we need 8 cups. So I have my handy dandy 8-cupper here. So how am I gonna, because I know this is only gonna be, I think, about 4 cups. So how am I gonna fix that? Well, I'm gonna dump all the stock in. As these onions are cooking, I'm gonna dump all the stock in here. Hopefully it doesn't sploosh back at my face. So this is like 4 cups right here. So how do we fix that? Well, you get your hot water running, and some people would normally have this where you have like bouillon cubes, but here's Nora chicken stock. It's gluten-free, by the way. So what you would do is you would take, 2 tablespoons. This is exactly 2 tablespoons. You could do like a mounded heap, of 2 tablespoons here. And you're gonna put it right into the vegetable stock. Now, hopefully you didn't throw your carton away, because this is another 4 cups. You can fill that right up. I can smell the onions. And give them a little bit of stir here. The whole thing with cooking the onions and the garlic is that you want everything tender and translucent. Alright, so I just filled this up with water. know you can't see it, but change it back to here. So here's 8 cups of stock, mixed between chicken and veggie. And I'm just gonna take my same thing I used to measure and just kind of stir it up. You want hot water because it breaks up this bouillon. And you can throw that off to the side, and we're gonna put this away. All right, doesn't this look lovely? All right, now we can add all of this broth, stock, whatever you want to call it. Whoop! Right into the pot. Clean up the huge mess that we make. I know all of us do this, but that was slightly embarrassing. Give it a good stir because we're gonna bring this up to a boiling point. And as the liquid is in here, you can actually start to pick up those browned smoky bits. Get them into the liquid here. So here we go. We're gonna turn this up on high a bit. And now it's time to add our tomato paste. It's calling for marinara, but marinara is just a very thinned out sauce. So we're gonna add some of this. This is, I'll turn this back on face cam. This is basically just some tomato sauce, just straight tomato sauce with low sodium that we're gonna add right to the pot. Let's see, we got some red pepper flakes, parsley, oregano, basil, things like that. So for the tomato paste, we're gonna add 2 tablespoons. And I'm sure you still had your I'm hoping you're keeping like all of your, you know, measuring increments nearby. So, opening everything up here. I am adding, from my own, I'll be adding my own canned stewed tomatoes. So we're going to turn this back. So, this is coming up to a boil, and like I said, you could feel at the bottom of the pan there were some smoky bits, like some, you know, I guess they call it like crumblings. You just want to add that in. So I'm going to put this off to the side. I opened up my tomato paste, and I'm going to put it in 2 tablespoons. There we go. There's 2 tablespoons of tomato paste going on. So how am I gonna fix adding in all of this these stewed tomatoes that I'm putting in? I'm adding to the recipe, and also, you know, it's calling for a cup and a quarter of marinara or a really thinned out sauce. Well, this is how I'm going to do it. Open my jar. And I'm going to pour my stewed tomatoes right in. Oh, wish you guys could smell this. Give it a good stir. So instead of adding a cup of marinara, we're just going to do a half cup. We're going to keep it, you know, right beside us while the lasagna noodles are actually cooking. So you see how thin this out? It's very, look at that. Wow. So, but we'll end up keeping the jar close by if we need more liquid. So the more liquid you would need would be your really thinned out, you know, marinara, or I guess you want to just call it tomato sauce. We'll stir that in. So I'm going to bring this up to a boil. I've got it up on high, and it says to add spices now. I don't do that. I believe if you're cooking spices at high heat, and it's just something I learned from my years in cooking, you know, when I was a full-time chef, that you're taking the flavor away. We've already got some flavor in here because of the stewed tomatoes and the smoky bits at the bottom that we had when we were cooking the meat here. There's garlic already in here. Like my stewed tomatoes that I can were Italian style, so it's already got pretty much all the ingredients, you know, that we're going to be adding to when it calls for spices. So right now we're going to get this up to a boil, and then we'll move on to the next step. So stay tuned. Okay, guys. So we're back, and we've got our pot to a boiling point. And now it's time to make some additions. So we said this was lasagna soup, and I've got a box open of oven ready, and sorry, oven coming up 10. And I got a box of lasagna. Both came from the food pantry. So it's calling for 10 noodles, just like this. And all we're doing is breaking them into pieces. Just like that. Adding them right into the pot. My husband, his mother is well, she's passed on. But we're so blessed to go to a church where he basically grew up in that church, and she was known very well. And but she's like Italian, last name Tufinelli. And Andrew used to tell stories about how him and his sister used to fight over just plain pasta. And Italians do eat pasta every day, but not like us. And most of their pasta is made in the home from scratch, because it doesn't take long. It does not take much to make pasta. There's some really interesting shows that you can watch for free on like Pluto Free TV or like Roku, and they're like documentaries on the history of pasta. All right, so I got all the pasta in. We're gonna keep it boiling for a couple minutes and then throw it down to low. Kind of like a simmer, like medium. But, so now I've got about 18 more pieces here. 12 to 18. So you're gonna ask yourself, what is an open box of lasagna great for? Well, you could do a 8x8 half size lasagna. You could make some more lasagna soup, or you could make your own homemade. There's another kind of like, there's a couple recipes that take the farfalle, which are like the bow ties. You could actually use those noodles in those recipes, because it's a flat noodle, and flat noodles soak up a lot of sauce, especially if you made your own homemade sauce, which like we can. End of summer, we're canning sauce like it's going out of style, and I'm always giving it away to people because the Lord's just provided so much for us. There's no point in keeping it. Giving it away and sharing with others is what it's all about. That's the heart of the Lord. He gave us free redemption because there was nothing we could do. There was nothing we could do to be redeemed to Him, because our sin is so great. And He knew that from the beginning of the world when He created it. And He still loves us. So now it's time to add some of the spices. Alright, so spices that I'm going to be putting in is a little bit of red pepper flakes. And I say a little bit. Oregano, basil, some more parsley, salt and pepper to taste at this point. So throw some parsley on. Here's the basil. Oregano. Just a little bit of red pepper flakes. A little bit of salt. Maybe a little bit more. A little bit of pepper. Give that a good whirl. This already smells lovely, and you can see it. It's got a good body to it. Some of these recipes, it seems like they don't have any body to it. It's like all liquid. And I think that's why people go, well, soup isn't a meal. Well, it actually is. So you can see this is up to a boil because I have stirred it a couple of times and it hasn't quit. It hasn't, you know, arrested. So right now, we're gonna turn it down to about in between a medium and a low. And we're gonna let that cook until the pasta, the noodles are tender. That could be about 8 minutes, but we're just gonna let it sit. So things that you could add in the meantime. Well, people like to put spinach in this pasta. I don't have any fresh spinach on hand, but I do have frozen. So if I wanted to add it at this point, that's when I'd do it. The fresh spinach, I'd wait a little bit longer because you just want it to wilt, basically. You don't want it to kind of like turn to nothing. And that spinach is one of those. Other than kale, you could add kale. Kale is something I would add because it's thicker, stands up a little. It's hardier. Stands up a little bit hardier. I think I'll add this. I think I'll add the spinach. So I've got a bunch of this frozen spinach that came from Aldi's, and I add it to smoothies. So you know, I just grab right out the bag and put it in my blender. This recipe says if you're going to add spinach, 2 1/4 cup. That would be about, I would say that would be about the rest of this bag. But save this freezer bag because you can use it for when you open your next spinach. And don't waste. So this is going to slow down the simmering because this spinach is cold. But doesn't that look gorgeous? Let me turn it back to the webcam. Look at that. That looks so beautiful. So because it arrested it, I'm going to turn it back up. And that's just something you should know. Whenever you're adding to boiling liquid and you're adding to it, it actually puts at rest, arresting the process. But it was pretty hot in here, so I can see it starting to bubble, so that's great. So we've got everything in it. We're going to let that go. And in the process, we're going to check on this bread. Rolls, I'm sorry. So I'm going to move this over here very carefully. So you can see it's spread. We've got, looks like it's pretty good. So now is the point to score it. Take your plastic wrap off. And we're going to score it into your roll shape. So you're just going to cut it here. And this is going to be more like a ciabatta bread, like a focaccia bread. And it'd be perfect because you can dip it in your lasagna here. But so I just did I just did like 2 rows, 4 rows. And what I'm going to do next is we're going to put the cheese that we have left here right on top. Just like that. I already got the oven up to 450. And I'm just going to salt it a little bit. Add a little bit more parsley on top. I already smell the garlic. I'm going to stick it in the oven. We're going to start right now. 15 minutes. So I'm going to move this back over here under the cam. And you can see it started really bubbling and boiling again. So now turn it back down to medium low. And we're going to keep cooking. But the rolls are in the oven. We're going to start at 15 minutes and we'll check it. All right? You want to say hi to the camera? You got to stand over here. Here, get down. I'll move your stool. I'll put your stool over here.
No.
Well, the camera can't see you. Oh, yes, it can. Say hi. Say hi, Prissy. She can't see you. She's like, right there. Hi. Oh, okay. So now you can see this is just kind of, it's just like a medium low. It's not boiling, but kind of in between a boil and no, please. It's in between a boil and a simmer. So that's kind of where we want to keep it at. And as I said, we put the rolls on for 15 minutes, so it's kind of like we have a timer going on here. So when my timer gets down to 7 minutes, when my timer, say hi. When my timer gets down to 7 minutes, watch your hand. That's when we're gonna be, you know, checking the pasta for the tenderness. And we can actually add the meat back to the pot right now. So I think that's what we'll do. You really just want to, you know, have this meat heated through. But there's no sense in not adding it at this moment. So there we go. A beautiful meat right into this pasta.
I like pasta.
Oh, I know. But you're gonna have some of this for lunch.
Then we go put it in the fridge. Then put it back out.
Okay. Keep your hands away from the hot cooktop, please.
Can you help with this?
No. We'll taste it.
Help.
If we need, you can. If we need more salt and pepper, you can help me with that.
Well, I don't hold this thing.
I think no, just leave it there for right now. I think one thing I want to tell you guys is don't be afraid to let your littles help in the kitchen. Just because it's a hot or you know they're not clean enough or they might add too much of an ingredient.
Open.
Don't be afraid. You want to close that?
No.
You want to keep it open?
Yeah.
You want to say hi to the camera? That's Priscilla, everybody. I'm sure you've seen her on lots of videos. I'm actually going to turn this up again because it's really not bubbling or sizzling, which I can show you. I'm not bubbling or simmering, but you can see it's really not doing anything here. It's kind of, Not where I'd like it to be, I think is the best way to put it. If you step down, we can take a look at the rolls that I put in the oven. Let me Shadow, get out of the way.
I can do that.
Okay, you gotta move your stool. So I'm gonna turn this to face cam and out of the kitchen, Shadow. Out of the kitchen. Move your stool out of the way so we can look at everything. We're actually gonna check on these rolls right now. Shadow, come on. Lay down.
Oh.
Yeah. Alright, so now we're gonna check on these rolls. You put that stool down, you can help me.
I can wait for it to.
This looks really great, and so I'll just stop the baking process just for a second. Turn this on the webcam just so you can see. There. No! They're very much like a ciabatta roll. And they'll raise a little bit more and get very puffy. Put that back in the oven. And that was kind of the purpose, because you'll have that ciabatta, like garlicly cheesy bread for like dunking, and then you'll have these like big beautiful pieces of pasta here, which I'll turn this back. You'll have these big beautiful pieces of pasta here, and just wow. So this is gonna go back up to a simmer. We're gonna leave it. We got about 8 minutes left on our bread, and probably in about 4 minutes we'll check the tenderness of this pasta.
Well, it can be a sign. It can be a sign, Mom.
What can be a sign?
After the tree, when a sign, when the book appeared in a sign, we got a dog.
Okay.
When the sign said dog, did I do that?
No, this is nasty garbage. You can't touch this. It's all oil and stuff.
Yeah.
Alright. Move back from the sink so I can rinse the dishes. Or I can get these all in. Because I cleaned this already.
I had washed my hands. They were full of ordinances.
Well,
They're a little bit sticky.
You'll have to wait till I'm out of the way, okay?
Can I wash these too?
You what?
Can I wash this and this?
No, I'm going to be putting that in the dishwasher.
Mom, that will be a pool.
can do that in the bathroom, not out here.
Mom!
No. No
Mom!
arguing. I am filming.
Mom!
No
I
arguing.
want to go into the little bathroom. It's too wet.
Well, you can wait a minute. Okay? Alright, I'm going to have to go back on film in a minute here, okay? Did you hear me?
Yeah, so we can talk.
Alright.
Mom, peanut mix.
No, this is too hot. Okay, I'm going to be back on film.
They're bubble popping now.
Mm-hmm. That's why. Okay. Alright, guys, and we're back. And so, I'm about to check the pasta here and the bread. So, I'm just stirring it up. And I'll turn it down so you can take a good look at this. Grab myself a piece of pasta. I'm just gonna, it's pretty tender, so I should be able to just cut a piece of it. Actually, maybe it's not pretty tender. But you can see how it tastes here. If I can grab it. That's just right. But I can tell you that it needs a little bit more salt. So now's the time to add it. And I think I want to put some lovely paprika on it. And this is just some ground paprika from the 125 store. So I'm actually going to turn this off. And something that I do that the recipe does not call for at this point is when I throw in a couple tablespoons of brown sugar. But I do it because when I turn it off and at the end here, because it will dissolve, but I don't want to cook this pasta anymore. And I really just love the flavor the brown sugar gives, and it is really not adding sugar. You know, you're not making this, you know, as recipe in such a way that, you know, someone who's on a specific diet for sugar is really going to be affected. All right, so we'll let that sit for a minute, and we're going to come over here and check our bread. So this is really lovely. But I'm going to show you how you know if it's done or not. So I'm going to move my cooktop over so you can see it on the countertop camera. So here we got our bread, and like I said, it's very focaccia-like. So how can we tell if this is done? Because we're making it in such a way that it's not actually a recipe. Like there's no, you know, it has to be done. You can tell it's done at this time. So one thing is, it's pretty hard and glued. You know, it's consistent and dense. And the sides are formulated. But I know it's not done yet because it's not golden brown along the sides. So it's going to go back in. The timer's kind of gone to 30 seconds, but we're actually going to give it another 5 minutes. We'll look at it then. And remember, we put the oven on at 450. So, back to looking at our soup. So now it's time for you to taste your broth. And if you don't like the way it tastes, there's a couple of additives here. Like I said, I did the brown sugar. You can add Worcestershire. That tastes lovely. So I'm going to grab a bowl and some ricotta cheese and some cilantro, and we're gonna plate it up for you, and we'll show you what it looks like. So give me just a minute, and I'll be right back. hot in here. All right, so we're back, and I think we had a happy mistake. Um, so this bread just basically came out of the oven, and you know, I really thought it would turn into more like ciabatta rolls, and that wasn't the case. So it's hot, but I can pick it up. So you got a nice bottom here and a nice top. I'll turn it on webcam. But you see, it's like breadstick style. Isn't this neat? Let's bring it that way. So, what a happy mistake and a lovely addition to add to our soup. So here we go. We can cut it up. Still pretty hot, but that's okay. I mean, usually you should wait till bread is you know, pretty cool before you cut it. But look at that. Perfect for dunking size. So I think I'll take this off to the side here. So put it back inside my pan. And I'm hoping my husband should be home soon. And I've got a podiatry appointment. I'm waiting for medical transportation. Should be picking me up at 2:30. But wouldn't it be nice if he came home just before 2 and got to eat this lasagna soup? But soup's here, so I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what it looks like plated, or at least how we do it. So give it a good whirl, and you can see it's pretty. It's hearty. It's hearty. You've got quite a bit of stuff in here. I'm just going to do a little bowl because I doubt Percy will eat right now. She ate a bunch of my pickles earlier. I canned a bunch of pickles this summer, and Priscilla has turned into quite the pickle addict. So she's been eating, you know, like bread and butter. But I did a lot of other stuff too. I canned like hot pickled peppers, hot pickled carrot. I canned pickled corn, pickled squash, green pickled peppers, pickled cauliflower. Some people call that gardenia mix. But it was, yeah, it was great. I also made a lot of jam too, like Concord grape. I'm really hoping to get into that, to teaching you guys some of that stuff. All right, so how would this look plated? Well, you pull from the bottom, you know, put some stuff in there. Make sure you got your meat bits. We got a couple of our like sausage meatballs going on here. Pull a little bit of liquid in. Grab a tomato or two. And put it right down there. Move this off to the side. And cottage cheese. And this is actually the whole milk, not the skim milk. Whole milk, Aldi's brand. You can dollop a little bit of ricotta on there. Just like that. Get this out of the way. I've got some Italian blend. You can see it in the camera. That's Walmart, great value. So some people would put shredded parm, but I think this is, you know, this is a blend of, wow, that was the garbage truck. Mozzarella, provolone, Parmesan, Romano, Fontatina, and Asiago. So it's a good blend of cheese. And then, you know, you can, a little bit of parsley. Look at that. Then, you can turn it back to face cam here. Take our breadstick and just kind of, I probably put it back on webcam, sorry. But look at that. A nice little meal. I'll give it a whirl and taste it. So, dunking it in the soup. That is one heck of a breadstick. What a happy mistake, right? All right. So, you know that your lasagna noodles are big, but that's okay. You can take your spoon and kind of chop it up. So you get a good piece of lasagna. Grab a piece of ricotta. You know, maybe, because like the bratwurst sausages are kind of like little meatball sausages, but the ground beef is all the way through it. So let's grab it a taste here. It's got some, you got your spinach in it, you got your noodle. Oh my goodness. I gotta get another bite, sorry. Lasagna in a bowl. But a whole different flavor, a whole different texture. Start to finish, even with the bread, was a little under an hour. Probably about 50, 55 minutes. But oh my gosh. This bread. Just the right amount of chewy crunchiness and garlic and cheese, salt, and you can make this for your whole family in under an hour. I mean, other than raising the bread overnight, but you could start it in the morning before you went to work, or if you're a stay-at-home mom or dad, and just let it sit all day, because so remember at the beginning of the show we started this and you can see there's a nice hump on it. Well, that means there's heat going on in here and it's already doubled in size. Well, tonight I want to triple it in size and I want to make some more breadsticks. And what's really cool is this. You can make these breadsticks, freeze them in your freezer, and pull out as many as you want and just heat them up in the oven. But how cool it is to do this. You're making your own breadsticks. Didn't cost much money either. I know I use bread flour. You can use all-purpose flour. But I just gotta look at this bowl. I mean, I don't know what the Lord has in store for me. If I'm gonna go, by the time Percy's in school, and but this would rival any restaurant around here. But it's just such a great meal. I'm already overstuffed just because I have gastric issues, but Andrew should be home soon, and maybe I can get Percy to eat some of this. And just thank you for joining with me. I'm hoping you learned something. Please let me know if you need any prayer. I need tons of prayer. Lord, help me surrender my life to you. It's a desire I have, but how many of us say that and then keep pulling back that surrender? But Lord, make me into the wife that would bless my husband. Make me into the wife that would honor you, Lord. So I'm glad you joined me today and we got to make this awesome meal. I hardly ever eat on camera, so I hope that wasn't weird. And thank you. Text me if you need the recipe or, message me, but 585-905-5236. And I'm definitely here to pray with you too, because honestly, we need to be praying for each other. I love you guys. Jesus loves you more.